My name is Diana de Winton, and I'd like to speak with you about how attunement has affected me in my life and how it may affect you in your life if you are sharing an attunement with another person or persons. I would say that one of the important things in one's life is to be consistent in one's expression of what I call spirit, whatever you wish to call it, God, many names for it, that it is consistently expressed in one's living. And part of that for me is coming to a place of stillness. We often do this in attunement when one begins an attunement. Prior to the attunement, there is a moment where one just steps back from the person for just a second and allows, what should we say, a drawing together or a gathering of all the essences that are there in that moment, and a stillness in oneself. I often say to myself, what is the way of healing in this moment? What is the way of attunement in this moment? Not my ideas, but the flow from spirit coming out through the form of attunement and being shared with another person. I'm Diana de Winton, and I'd like to speak with you about a couple of experiences I've had in some specific attunements. The first one I'd like to speak about is a person who had a burn. It turned out it was on the inside of the person's arm, and it was quite a strong burn. And fortunately, they had the wisdom to come to me soon after the experience and to share attunement with them. Reason why I say that and emphasize soon after the incident is this allows us to get in as attunement servers to work with the pattern that's happened soon before it gets embedded in the system. So the person doesn't have to deal with more trauma. In other words, we work with not only the physical side of the injury, but also what's going on for the person mentally and emotionally as we move along. A lot of that is an unspoken. Don't necessarily need to talk about the emotion, but the stillness of the atmosphere during the attunement often begins to calm the waters, so to speak, calm the trauma, calm the pain. So in this case, I spoke to the individual because burns are a unique attunement. They can be in one way quite dramatic. They can heal and heal quickly. And what I mean by that is you can go back through what I call a retrace the experience by sharing the attunement, staying with it. Sometimes it takes half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, depending upon the severity of the injury. And one just stays in the attunement and invites the individual to stay with you in the attunement so that the steadiness of the healing process can happen. And what I mean by that is the burn has happened, the person's come to you, and you start to work. And in some ways it's calmed down a little bit, but as one starts to work, it can intensify and almost go back through the intensity of the burn. And you want to take it all the way through the most intense part, and then it starts to cool down. And what often happens is the skin reflects what is happening. It may be quite red, and then gradually, the skin calms down, becomes its more natural color. And you can take it all the way back to normal pink, I'll call it. and let the attunement calm. But it's important that both the person receiving the attunement and the person giving the attunement stays what I'll call steady in the process. Not a lot of conversation, just the stillness, quietness, and continuing to work. And it's remarkable what happens. Here's an example of where two people are in agreement in letting what needs to be accomplished, so to speak, in the healing process, accomplished by spirit through the two of us working together in agreement. My name is Diana de Winton, and I'd like to speak with you a bit about an experience I had. In this case, it's actually relating to team attunement. In other words, two of us working together with a person who is coming to ask for an attunement. In this case, I was working with a friend in Loveland at the time. I'd traveled to be with this friend and his wife, and we had had dinner together and everything was very relaxed. We were just after dinner sitting around chatting. And suddenly he felt something very strong in his midsection of his body, around the pancreas area. And I spent a little time was sharing the attunement. His wife was right there with me. But I had a feeling I had another person that could really play a part with me. We'd worked together in team attunements before. And so I asked the man, I said, I think I'd like to have my friend join me in sharing an attunement with you. Would that be all right? And we agreed, everybody agreed in the room. And so I picked up the phone and called the person and explained the situation to them. And we hung up the phone, sat down, and quietly I was sharing the attunement and could feel the current of attunement moving. And suddenly it was almost like there was a ripple, a shake in the energy I was feeling. This person, the second person I'd called, came online, and we both knew it at the same time because they could feel it too. And it was the most wonderful thing, is just that sort of immediacy of that shake almost, that we were together, the three of us in this case, the person receiving and the two of us together, sharing the attunement. And it was remarkable. I'd taken it to a certain point before I called the other person. And just that, shall I say, message in consciousness came to make that phone call. And here's the beauty of what we call agreement. Where two or more are in agreement, there am I in the midst. Something of a quote like that comes out of the Bible. This is what happened, where the two of us worked in agreement, and the power of the energy, the attunement current built and built. And as we worked with the person we were sharing the attunement with, it began to calm down, calm down, calm down, to the point where it was the feeling, definitely, that the attunement was complete at a certain point. And we both agreed we felt the same thing at the same time, and I picked up the telephone and called the other person, and we agreed too that that's what had happened. So when there's agreement, there is power that allows the attunement current to flow where it needs to go. We don't have to try. We just let it happen.